Take a moment and think about what it was like when you were a kid. Do you remember playing until the sun went down? Play is absolutely critical to all aspects of childhood development, but it's also the very essence of childhood. Could you even imagine what it would be like to have a childhood without play? But that's what's happening on our watch. Kids today are playing less than any generation before them, and as a result, they're less active, less engaged, and less creative. And as the dad of 3 young girls, I fear that this idea of playing until the sun goes down is becoming a distant memory. That's why the work that we do at KaBOOM is so urgent to me. A couple years ago, I had the opportunity to build a KaBOOM playground in the Crown Heights section of Brooklyn, a few blocks from where my own grandparents grew up, and a community that had once been a launch pad for new immigrant families seeking the American dream was now trapping families in a cycle of poverty. Since 2000, the number of Americans living in areas of concentrated poverty has increased 91%. And kids are more likely than adults to live in these areas. And when kids grow up under these conditions, they're more likely to go hungry, to be exposed to violence, and to experience other adversity, all that put them on a path to be at risk for toxic stress, which fundamentally alters their brains and impedes healthy childhood development. But when I saw the joy and the smiles on the kids' faces in Crown Heights after we'd finished that playground, it was clear to me that play is a barrier to protect against adversity. And we had created yet another oasis of hope, an oasis where kids feel nurtured and valued and protected and loved. I'm really proud of the work we did that day, and I'm proud of all of our work, but it also leaves me feeling like there's so much more to be done. Because the fact of the matter is, kids deserve better than an oasis. What about the vast space in between the oases? We need to think about this problem from a different angle. It's not just how many places to play a community has, but whether the community is making it as easy as possible for kids to get the play they need to thrive. When I look at my own kids, it's easy to see that they see the world as their playground. And they'll play everywhere, whether it's at the park or on the sidewalk. All it takes is an invitation, a small prompt, like uneven steps or playful art. But that's an unscientific survey of 3. So we asked the experts at Ideas 42, a nonprofit that uses behavioral science to solve societal challenges at scale. And we asked them, what are the key barriers that get in the way of kids playing? And they had 2 insights for us. The first is that you can go through the whole day and not even think about play for your kids. So unlike nutrition, where every time you go to the grocery store, go out to eat, or open the refrigerator at home, you're confronted with a choice between the healthy option and the unhealthy option. When it comes to play, you can go through the whole day and there's no natural moments that trigger you to think, hey, how should I be playing with my kids now? And then, even if you do think about it, all the little hassle factors get in the way of making the decision to play. Think about what it takes to go to the local playground. Does your kid have the right clothes on? Do you have the right supplies with you? Is there a safe route to get there, not just for you, but for your kids? And when you get there, is there a clean, accessible public restroom that you can use when someone has an emergency, as they always do? And then after you're done playing, and you're all tired and you make your way home, you have to clean up the kids and then get back to the 20 other things on your to-do list. And all of these little hassle factors add up and make it too easy for parents and other caregivers to say, sorry, now's not the time to play. So if those are the barriers, we then asked Ideas 42, okay, what can cities do about it? Why cities? Simple. Our nation's future is inextricably tied to the future of kids in cities. The numbers speak for themselves. Over 80% of the US population lives in urban areas, and contrary to popular belief, the percentage of kids is slightly higher than that. Of those kids, 22%, or 13.2 million, are growing up in poverty. And when it comes to play, most of the key decisions get made at the local level, whether you're talking about investment in infrastructure, policy, or programming. With gridlock in Washington and state budgets constrained, cities, as the government of last resort, are becoming hotbeds of innovation on a wide range of issues, from climate change to livability. And we need cities to direct that innovation to benefit kids and families. So what did Ideas 42 tell us? They said that cities need to integrate play into the daily routine of kids and families. What does that mean? Well, low-income kids spend almost 25% more of their time doing chores and running errands with the adults in their lives because there's no viable alternative for childcare. So yes, we need cities to have great playgrounds, great oases of play. But we also need cities to have great playable sidewalks and playable bus stops and even playable laundromats, and everywhere that kids and families are spending an inordinate amount of time, and that time is usually filled with moments of frustration, like waiting in line at the grocery store or at the health clinic. Play can turn those moments of frustration into moments of joy. The problem is that we're designing kids and families right out of cities. Urban living is becoming increasingly unaffordable, and new housing tends to cater to singles and couples without kids. And when it comes to city master plans, when budgets get tight, as they inevitably do, the first thing to get cut is kid-friendly amenities. And even in those cities that are making great strides when it comes to livability, improving the opportunities to walk and to bike, those are not benefiting kids. I wouldn't want my girls riding their bike there, would you? So cities are at risk of becoming young adult playgrounds that don't meet the needs of kids and families. In 1960, the percentage of the population in San Francisco under the age of 18 was 25%. Today, after booming economic growth, it's 13%. Clearly, kids and families are not being prioritized, and as a result, kids are suffering, particularly low-income kids. But we have an opportunity to reimagine cities with kids in mind and to reclaim childhood in the process. Like bikeability and walkability, we call this playability, where cities are making it as easy as possible for kids to get the play they need to thrive. Because we shouldn't settle for sidewalks that don't meet the needs of kids and families. We shouldn't settle for bus stops that create frustration rather than alleviate it. We shouldn't settle for public art that's beautiful to look at, but warns kids not to climb on it. As our good friend Gil Penalosa from 880 Cities would put it, that's like giving kids ice cream and telling them not to eat it. And we certainly shouldn't settle for solutions that benefit only a privileged few. It's doable. In fact, it's already beginning to happen, with a handful of cities beginning to innovate to create kid-friendly space, where it's hard to tell where the sidewalk ends and the playground begins, where training wheels are encouraged on the bike lanes, and where public art is clearly made for play. But we need much, much more. Think about what's possible in a short amount of time if we had the public will. Think about what's happened with cycling over the last 10 to 15 years. A handful of mayors started to innovate and create wonderful new bike infrastructure, and all of a sudden we've got dozens and hundreds of cities across the country innovating, replicating the best ideas, and competing to be the most bikeable city. And we're seeing staggering behavior change as a result. In New York City, daily ridership doubled in less than 7 years. But a note of caution on it. These enhancements are not benefiting everyone. Here in DC, where we have over 70 miles of bike lanes, up until recently, there were 0 in Anacostia, the part of the city with the highest concentration of poverty. So yes, we need cities to create a domino effect where they're innovating and replicating the best ideas for kids and play, but we better make sure that it benefits the kids who need it most. It's time to reimagine cities with kids in mind. It's time for cities to embrace playability. I believe that we can create a new generation of kids that knows what it's like to play until the sun goes down. And the best part about it is that kids will be better off as a result. Healthier, happier, and more successful. It's up to all of us to ensure that all kids get the childhood they deserve, filled with play. Thank you.